Greetings. By virtue of your presence watching this video today, I want you to know that we consider you to be an extended member of our family at Unity in Linwood. We believe that you are an individualized expression of that one creative impetus which stands behind all life. And as such, we celebrate the uniqueness which you are, and we celebrate our unity with you. We are glad you're with us. I grew up on Scott Joplin. Neighbor from Joplin, Missouri, in fact. Good morning, Unity in Linwood. Good morning, Unity in Linwood. Every service has an ambassador. This person's role is to support you in your exploration of this divine idea that is Unity in Linwood. If you have a question about who we are, about what we teach, what we believe, about what's available to you, you may avail yourself to a conversation with a most noble soul, and that you might have a face to go with a name. Nan Allen, will you raise your hand, please? Practical spirituality, welcoming community. It is our admittedly short mission statement every week. I like to support this with one of the bullet points which you developed in conversation with your board of trustees beginning in late 2014. So take a deep breath. See if this is a divine argument, if it is a spiritual value, a position in consciousness with which you can align. It reads as follows. We seek to discover and to share spiritual practices which are repeatable and reliable, and to infuse these spiritual practices into every arena of daily life. Fair enough? You can clap if you want, that's okay. I think it's a good idea too. A Christian nation. I was in conversation with an executive at Unity Worldwide Ministries this past week, and we stumbled upon a topic unrelated, and he said, you know what, let's unpack that a little bit. Let's unpack that. And I thought, man, that's a great phrase. I bet the opportunity will arise for me to use it. Let's unpack that a bit, shall we? It's really a pretty noble idea. It's an idea which stretches beyond the small uses of small minds to awaken something of the transcendent truth it represents in the hearts of all men, in the hearts of all women, who are willing to be lifted from the fearful graspings of ignorance. A Christian nation. A pretty noble idea. Imagine with me, if you will, an entire nation of souls dedicated to and living from those clear charges as set forth in the cut short ministry of a teaching, healing, itinerant Jewish rabbi. Those clear charges which would give rise to something of a kingdom here on earth, here in our places of commerce, here in our systems of education, here in our houses of worship, here in our bodies of politic, both in his generation and in ours, here on earth as it is in that realm of infinite potential, that realm of higher possibility which he called heaven. And you're still here. A Christian nation. What a noble idea it is. Imagine with me, if you will. Imagine with me, if you will, an entire nation of souls dedicated to and living from the very clear charge of inclusion. Imagine with me, if you will, an entire nation of souls extending invitation to the others, to all who so easily exist as little more than fleeting shadows lurking beyond the comforting edges of our circles, Imagine an entire nation of souls extending invitation to the others of ethnicity, to the others of religion, to the others of gender, to the others of caste, to the others of politic. Imagine an entire nation of souls extending invitation to the others in the multitudinous forms of any consciousness rooted in otherness. So come Taoist, come Muslim, come Jew, come sit at this table. Come heterosexual, come homosexual, come transgendered, come partake of this food. And yes, come Democrat and come Republican and come libertarian, come share in this fellowship. Imagine an entire nation of souls not huddling ever inward, but stepping ever outward to those comforting edges, and then beyond, again and again and again, until the only edges which remain are so expansive that all of God's noble creation are contained therein. Imagine an entire nation of souls extending invitation, not from the arrogance of superiority or piety, but from the rising wisdom that there really aren't any others to begin with. That the world's hungry are our hungry, that the world's impoverished are our impoverished, that the world's downtrodden are our downtrodden. You listen to this lesson from a Unity Center, and while the voice of the masses would rise and cry, "You honor so many traditions, you welcome so many people, this can't possibly represent Christianity." And my voice would rise in response and say, "We honor so many traditions, we welcome so many people, this represents the very heart of Christianity." Oh, a Christian nation. What a noble idea, really. Imagine with me, if you will, an entire nation of souls dedicated to and living from the very clear charge of love. How might the books of our history and the books of our future be rewritten at the hands and hearts of those dedicated to and living from the clear charge to love? Not those with whom love is easy, but those with whom love is difficult. Bless those who curse you is the dictate of the teacher. Serve those who hate you is the dictate of the teacher. Love your is the dictate of the teacher. And I suppose it makes really good sense. I would speculate that little progress in 1950s women's rights was gleaned from women opening their minds to other women, with men opening their minds to other men. I would speculate that little progress in 1960s civil rights was gleaned from blacks opening their hearts to other blacks while whites opened their hearts to other whites. I would speculate that little progress will be gleaned in 2017 America from conservatives opening their ears to other conservatives while liberals open their ears to other liberals. Bless those who curse you is the charge of one who asserted that real progress would be achieved as we open our minds, as we open our hearts, as we open our ears, not to those who share our righteousness, but to those who challenge our stubbornness. Serve those who hate you is the charge of one who asserted that real progress would be achieved as we reach across the countless aisles which humanity has erected, as we reach across those aisles of religion, as we reach across those aisles of gender, as we reach across those aisles of caste, and yes, as we reach across those aisles of politic. In every case, it seems reasonable to conclude that real progress requires that we reach beyond the comforts of familiarity. A Christian nation, a noble idea. So imagine with me, if you will, an entire nation of souls dedicated to and living from the very clear charge of forgiveness. Imagine with me, if you will, an entire nation of souls dedicated to and living from the very clear charge that humanity must die to old ways of being in order to be born into new ways of being. That humanity must be born again, if you will, not through uttering some enchanted word, not through performing some prescribed ritual, not through adopting some written creed in a singular moment before the altars of men, but humanity must be born again and again and again, because this is what it means to be a soul unfolding in human form. Every woman who casts a vote does so because someone, somewhere, and somewhen was courageous enough to challenge an old way of being. And every man who flies on clouds does so because someone, somewhere, and somewhen was courageous enough to challenge an old way of being. Every human who stares at the night sky, who considers the very real likelihood that another human stares back from his or her position on one of the countless points of light floating in that infinite blackness, does so because someone, somewhere, and somewhen was courageous enough to challenge an old way of being. And that courage always requires a steadfastness ample to the inertia of fear which would hold us fast. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. This mere mention of the lyric brings the melody into the minds of everyone in this room this morning. And yet how less familiar are the elevated ideas which follow. Our glorious land today, beneath education's sway, soars upward still. How less familiar are the elevated ideas which follow, that it's not from yesterday's lowest practices that tomorrow's highest possibilities will emerge. Rather, it's through someone, somewhere, and somewhen, courageous enough to challenge an old way of being, that this sweet land of liberty will soar ever upward into a bounteous future for all. Christian nation. What a noble idea. A noble idea which stretches beyond the small uses of small minds to awaken something of the transcendent truth that represents in the hearts of all men and the hearts of all women who are willing to be lifted from the fearful graspings of ignorance. Imagine with me, if you will, an entire nation of souls dedicated to living from those clear charges as set forth in the cut short ministry of a teaching, healing, itinerant Jewish rabbi. Those clear charges which would give rise to something of a kingdom here on earth, yes, here in our places of commerce, here in our systems of education, here in our houses of worship, here in our bodies of politic, both in his generation and in ours, here on earth as it is in that realm of infinite potential, that realm of higher possibility he called heaven. A Christian nation. It's my sincere hope and my challenge on this Independence Day Sunday that we will one day live up to the fullness expressed in those three words. It's my sincere hope and challenge on this Independence Day Sunday that we will one day abandon newer paradigms of Christianity as something of an exclusive club to be joined, as something of an elitist weapon to be wielded, for older paradigms of Christianity, as something of a decision for inclusion, as something of a decision for love, as something of a decision for forgiveness to be made again and again and again and again. A Christian nation. It is my sincere hope and challenge on this Independence Day Sunday that we will one day live up to the fullness expressed in these three words, in every moment that we might be tempted to leave a people beyond the edges of our circles, in every moment that we might be tempted to leave a person beyond the worth of our love, in every moment that we might be tempted to leave new ways of being beyond our willingness to die to the old ways. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. The mere mention of these lyrics brings the melody into the minds of all gathered here this morning. And yet, how less familiar are the elevated ideas which follow. Thanks again for joining us. Please visit unityinlinwood.org for a preview of all upcoming classes, services, and events, and for an opportunity to make a gift to our community should you so choose. Thank you.